It's going to be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's going to be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
9. Rushing 4, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, and it's still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
Alabama back on top of the college football world.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to the max.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Hello and welcome to another Football to the Max, as this is the last one of our episodes before we get into the previews, where we're either doing a college football conference or we're doing an NFL division on Monday, or well, Tuesday morning really. We'll be doing the Big Ten, and on this next week we'll be doing the AFC West for the NFL, and then we'll just go through as we get closer and closer to that NFL season. Guys, it's been a few days. Anything big going on?
Not a whole lot. Really just be getting ready for this 4th of July weekend, to be honest with you. Looking forward to this Saturday night because we're actually going to go to a park right by our house where our city actually does all their fireworks, and they have lots of food vendors and a live concert and things like that. Just right up the street, literally walking distance from the house. So that's nice. It's comfortable. I don't have to worry about, drunk drivers per se, unless they run over me in the parking lot, which could happen. Just saying, if I don't show back up on Monday, may happen. Anyway, but it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, it's something, a fun family thing, and I'm thrilled about that.
Yeah, this is always a big time for my family. Is obviously the 4th of July is always big, and my son's birthday is the day before that, so getting all of that prep work done for that. But all I know is right now I am feeling like a really old guy because I swear everything I touched that has anything to do with technology over the last 2 days has broken or does not work right or just, I don't know. I'm afraid to even be on the computer right now because something's going to go wrong.
As long as you don't cut me off, we're okay, I guess, this week. Yeah. Lots of controversy on last week's show. But anyway, no, it's in all seriousness. No, that's cool. Your son's birthday is coming up. It's also a big deal because my daughter just had her birthday in June, and it had to be a big shindig. So, you going to do anything special for your son? He's 7 or 8, right? He's getting to that age where he's starting to like lots of comic books, video games, and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, he's turning 8, and it's kind of, we broke it down into a bunch. We're doing a small thing on his birthday because my stepdad just had surgery. My dad's getting ready for surgery. So, we have a lot of things going on where people aren't going to be able to make it on certain days. So we're having a small thing on his birthday. We're doing a barbecue the week after. And we've promised him to go to Silverwood before school starts. And Silverwood's a small theme park that's up around here that we went to last year, and he's been dying to go again. So we're kind of spreading it out this year instead of one big day.
Hey, that's awesome. And you know what? It makes it more special for him because it's not just one day. So that's cool, man. Really cool. Sean, anything going on with you, man?
Well, I live in the Latino part of the country over here where we don't celebrate 4th of July. So I don't get to actually do that. Now, if I was in Texas, we'd be celebrating 4th of July and no other because, Grandpa being World War II vet and, my dad's all about that stuff. And I usually am too, but, I live with the Venezuelan side over here. So actually their Independence Day is the day after. on the 5th, so I'm sure they will go to some big fireworks thing and all that for that. But 4th of July, I'll just be sitting there, I guess, watching fireworks on the TV or whatever. I'll be watching Raw while y'all do all the other stuff.
You're going to watch the hot dog eating contest. Speaking of, since it is on Monday, do you think there's going to be a hot dog eating contest on Raw?
I hope not. They already have enough trouble as it is to get people to watch. I mean, I guess if you already know that nobody's going to watch that night, why not?
Well, that's the perfect time to get the Big Show back. Just have the Big Show in a hot dog eating contest.
Well, let's all be honest. I mean, the actual champion for years and years won't even be at the show, and that's the Bellas. So we'll leave that to interpretation. Anyway, yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. So, man, so we got an interesting show today, right? I mean,
we do.
Man.
We've got we're doing our defense draft, which may not wind up as well as the other drafts, just because I'm not sure that I remember who's on whose defense here at 4 a.m. Where I'm at. So, yeah, just gonna be real about that right now. But we do have some actual NFL news. We should probably start with the sad NFL news, though. Buddy Ryan, father of Rex Ryan and Rob Ryan, passed away between the time we did a show last time and today at 85. Of course, he'll be remembered for being the father of the 46th defense, but he was so much more than that, guys.
Yes, he was. I mean, he was a legend. He was a very important part of not only the Bears defense, but of course, we all know the New York Giants championship defense. I mean, he was a great coordinator, and he did a great job as a head coach as well. Houston and everything else he did around. I think he even did a year in Arizona, I believe, too. Mm-hmm. He's been around this league. I mean, and he had a lot of influence. He was a hard-nosed coach who demanded respect, and he got a lot of it, and his players loved him. His sons have kind of brought a little bit of that with them. I don't think that they got all of it in their genes, to be honest with you, but they got quite a bit of it. And it's a sad day because he was a living legend. But let's be honest, he lived a great full life, lived to his 80s, and, these things happen. But, I mean, you got to look back at his great career and all the great things he did for the NFL.
Yeah, listen, Buddy Ryan, his career definitely was before our times. So we didn't get to see him, in person. But everything you look back on the guy, obviously mostly known for being the defensive coordinator for all those great Chicago Bears teams. He was a defensive line coach back at, Super Bowl III for my Jets when they won their one Super Bowl. But for people like us that have not been able to see Buddy Ryan, the stuff that really has lived on for him is all of his quotes. He was one of the first guys that just said it as he thought. I mean, he didn't care. If he didn't like a player, he told you. And he told you the reason why. It wasn't like, well, he just didn't fit our team. He was like, no, he just couldn't run. He wasn't good. He doesn't deserve to be on my team. And you see a lot of that in his son, Rex Ryan, with I'm going to say what I'm feeling. And also with Rex Ryan, I think Buddy Ryan worked best as a defensive coordinator. He did okay as a head coach, but I don't think that was his main calling. When he was in charge of just a defense, that's when he shined, and that's kind of how Rex Ryan is as well. So, I mean, he's definitely going to be missed, but as Gary said, he lived a very full life, and it's nice now, that he has passed, that we take the time to remember all the great things that he did, but a great mind for the sport for sure. Yeah,
definitely. And, Sean, I mean, one of the things I remember most is the Houston Oilers, that time span. And that's just because I guess I'm a Texas guy. So, of course, I'm going to remember that. But also the fact that he hated our Dallas Cowboys with a passion. So much so. So it's interesting stuff, and Sean. I mean, I like Randy said. I mean, really, let's be honest. We really did not get that opportunity to watch him very much, and
No, you
all
didn't.
The stuff we watched is all on film, really not anything in person.
Yeah, and I mean, just so much that defensive coordinators learned from him. Not just for that 46 defense, but just defense in general. Like, you have to remember how basic that 4-6 defense really was. It's just that whole, like, okay, look, you got 11 guys here, 11 guys here. There's at some point there's somebody who's not blocking. So let's find that guy that's not being blocked, and let's create a mismatch and get the quarterback. And it wasn't necessarily always getting at the quarterback either. It was just making it so that you were forcing turnovers and all the stuff that we take for granted today. We take it. It's just something that we always see. The overload stuff that we see a lot too. That all comes from that. He made you think that every time they were going to line up, you didn't know what the hell was going to happen with that defense. So it just he is one of the legends, certainly. So many coaches, so many coordinators owe their time to him. It sucks that we really never, like Randy said, it was more of before our time. So we're hearing of him, and when you watch these old NFL films things, or just from his sons and all that stuff, just, yeah. He was great. But moving on from sad news to someone that I'm sure is really happy right now, and that's Andrew Luck signing a 6-year deal that has about $60 million guaranteed in it. I think it's, what is that, $144 million? Either way, lots of money for Andrew Luck, even though he did not have, he had that injury-riddled year last year. What do you think? He now becomes what the NFL's it's 140 million, sorry, and what's the NFL's top paid guys?
Yeah, this is just going to happen over and over. Now that this contract is out, the next quarterback to get the big contract is going to want more than Andrew Luck. Listen, I'm a big Andrew Luck fan. I really thought he was going to be like the next Peyton Manning, the next Tom Brady, just the top guy. He's kind of fallen off the last couple of years, a lot due to his offensive line not really being there. Now let's see how he does this year, as they've really bolstered that problem, but he really doesn't have a lot of talent around him to throw it to this year. So let's see what he can do there. But this is just how things go. Whether you think they deserve it or not, the money's going to get bigger and bigger. And Andrew Luck is one of those quarterbacks of the future. So I can't really argue with it.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 seasons they were going to the playoffs and all that. I mean, it's not totally out of the realm. Just last year, you never know if they weren't injured, and he was getting sacked all the time. Gary, he's now the highest paid player in NFL history.
Wow, that's amazing. And like Randy said, this is going to be expected. It's who can top who. It's what it is. I think Andrew Luck proved in his
Kirk Cousins is not going to be deserving of this money. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
this dude needs to shut his mouth before he even says something about deserving Andrew Luck money. But maybe if the Redskins get to the Super Bowl, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and if he does that, there you go. I mean, he's proven a point. But Andrew Luck, I mean, he's a guy that came into this league. He did everything he said he was going to do for the most part, without championships and all that. But on the other hand, you do see the injuries, the situation that he was in last year, and you at times you question, okay, how healthy can this guy stay? Is there going to be any lingering effects from the injuries he's had? Things like that. You've got to put those all into place. But I think for the most part, I think that they're thinking, we've got to pay him now. We've got to make sure that this guy's happy, and we're turning the chapter, right? We're turning to the next chapter to where this guy's going to start getting back on the rise. And so, I mean, it's hard to fight and say that this guy doesn't deserve to be paid. But, you often wonder what the future holds.
Yeah, and not to be outdone, Doug Baldwin, he signed a 4-year, $46 million extension. About 24.5 of that is guaranteed money. Deserved after last year, right?
Yeah, we talked about it on Monday, how he really has come out on his own to be one of the top maybe 15 wide receivers in the league. I mean, very underrated player and well deserving of the money. But once again, with Seattle, it's he's got his money and there's like 3 or 4 others going, okay, now what about me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what happens. It happens in this league, and that's the way.
I'm sure Michael Bennett right now is going up there. That guy's been waiting. What's he been for like 2 years telling them to pay him? And that dude still has 2 years left on that contract. You might as well just keep on, man. Speaking of the Seahawks, though, Trevon Boykin got charged with misdemeanor assault. He pleads no contest, and he's going to get probation. So I don't think that the Seahawks are really going to mess with him too much on that. But, players, that was from like a December, I think. That was that December arrest, right, where he didn't play in the bowl game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just now feeling the effects of it. And speaking of feeling effects, both of our teams are feeling effects today. Sheldon Richardson for your Jets, Randy, gets suspended a game for violating the personal conduct policy. Not too bad, though. Just one game.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that is so surprising. I'm glad it's just a game as far as my team goes. But do you guys remember this story from last offseason? I remember
Was that the one where he had the kid in the car or whatever?
Yeah, and they're going ridiculous amount, and then he pulled into a driveway but didn't turn off the car, so they found him because his brake lights were still on. And yeah, there's like a 14-year-old car, 12-year-old kid in the car, whatever. Just ridiculous. How is that only one game? I mean, as a Jets fan, thank you. But I'm sorry to bring it up. Tom Brady deflated footballs. 4 games. This guy was ridiculous. Had a gun in the car, all sorts of drugs. A kid, they're going like 120 miles an hour. 1 game. Next season. I mean, he played all of last season. He gets 1 game this year. I'm sorry, I don't get it. It should at least be 4, if not more.
Gary?
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you guys on that. And, it's just about the NFL kind of gauging what they feel is right, what they feel is not. And I think on this scale, they're looking at first-time offense, things like that. And I think they're afraid to give too much because I think really honestly – if they were to give that 4 games, I think they'd be afraid that they would be appealed down to 2 or 1, or maybe none at all. And so I think they're just giving a slap on the wrist and saying, okay, first offense, don't do it again, or you're going to get a lot heavier fine, or not fine, but suspension.
Well, this is where the law should have stepped in and done something, but they didn't. And so the NFL is sort of like, well, what can we really do?
Exactly. There's nothing they can do.
Well, speaking of somebody that's not going to be doing a whole lot for a while, Rolando McClain is suspended for 10 games for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. This is not his first time doing it, obviously. Oh, Gary. Rolando McClain, I'm sorry, man. You just need to go.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that statement because if you live in the Dallas area, there's people that talk about this situation quite a bit. And Rolando McClain, he's a guy that is not seemingly to be a guy that loves football. Let's be honest. And we're hearing more and more about
Yeah,
people
he's got
who know
so
him.
many. He's got a rap sheet pretty long here.
Yeah, and it's really doesn't show up to mini camps unless they're mandatory because he doesn't want to lose money. But he really always has a reason not to be around football. And then, of course, in the season he plays, and there'll be 2 games he plays amazing. He looks like the guy in Alabama, and then the next 2 games it looks like he's in Maui, and that's where his head's at. He's there, but his head's in Maui. So that's the thing. The guy's not a consistent player. I don't care. I mean, I'd rather have a young guy there playing that middle linebacker spot who at least is trying hard and trying to do things instead of a guy that maybe there or, hey, he's amazing. I would rather not have the 50-50 guy. So I just think he's just too much trouble. You don't want that in your locker room. I don't think this guy, if he leaves Dallas and if someone else signs him, they are just praying and hoping he turns out to be something. But I'm sorry, if I'm a franchise and I pick up this, I'm just saying Dallas, if they cut him, I'm sure they will. Hope they will. Who's going to go pick up a guy who's got a 10-game suspension? I don't know.
Listen, this is just another example of the Dallas Cowboys looking at what the Patriots do, where they take troubled players and they turn them around and they make them stars. And they went, well, we could do that too. Well, not really. I mean, you look back at Greg Hardy and all of that mess that went on with Dallas, and now here you are thinking they could turn McClain around. That's obviously not happening. 10-game suspension. So you're looking at the last month and a half of a season, and even that last month and a half, what kind of shape is he going to be in? Is he even going to be worth putting out there on the field? I remember, who is the player that you guys, was it McClain last year too, that I'm thinking of that missed the first 4? And I remember Gary was really excited going, okay, once that 4 week is done, the defense is going to turn around. Was it McClain or was it somebody else?
Well, you also had Randy Gregory was suspended for was he for 4 games?
2, yeah, I think it was 2.
I know Hardy was one of the guys. I really felt like Hardy was going to come back. Your McClain, I think, may have been suspended too last year.
Yeah, McClain was suspended last year.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. I think I probably was hyped about it because, like I said,
and they also upheld DeMarcus Lawrence's suspension today too.
So that would, I mean, you think about it, that's just 4 games. So you miss a month. It take you a couple of games to get ready, and then you go from there. Well, unfortunately
now
for Dallas,
look at that decision to draft Jalen Smith, who's not playing this year.
Well, that's why they drafted Jalen Smith, is because of this guy right here.
Well, you knew Rolando McClain wasn't playing much more. I mean, the guy's already up there in age. I mean, it's just he's already got problems, So it's.
They set up their exit plan here, and just for this reason, Randy, just for what you're saying, because they knew the next pop was going to land them in this guy not playing most of the year. So, to me, it's a done. I mean, I'm completely cool. They just cut him. Just cut your losses. Go sign. Hey, there's going to be some middle linebackers up for grabs once we get closer to training camp. Sure, they're not going to be just amazing, but they're better than what he is.
Oh, Rolando McClain was amazing for, I think the Dolphins game last year. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have to talk about this guy.
No, we don't.
Randy's boy here, Johnny Manziel.
Say his name.
The dude that used to play for the Browns. Well, there's now 2 guys who used to play. Connor Shaw got released, but he has been suspended 4 games for a substance abuse policy. That couldn't have come early enough. I'm surprised it took him this long to suspend him. So now, whoever picks him up, if they do at all, they know he's not playing for 4 games.
Listen, he's not going to play anyways. The 4-game suspension is a joke because who cares? If somehow somebody did pick him up, he's not starting, so who cares if he's suspended for 4 games? And don't forget, he also has a abuse charge, which most likely will add 6 more games to that once the NFL gets through that. And again, that won't matter because whoever picks him up would never start him.
Hold
this
on,
year.
we have somebody that actually commented on our WTN Network Facebook page talking about this, Randy. Robert Daninger, who is Last Word on Sports NFL News, or he's a news writer there. He says, when it comes to Manziel, what a waste of talent. If he focused his time and energy in developing as a QB, as he did with his nightlife, who knows how exciting he'd be heading into this third season. Now he faces a 4-game suspension for violating the drug policy. Then he's got another 4-game suspension for the domestic abuse probably coming. So that's 8 games.
It'll be 6 games for that.
6.
Usually
so,
6 games now.
So you'll get a 10-game suspension. There's not an NFL team that would be willing to sign, no matter how desperate they are. Manziel's only option would be go beg the CFL to sign him to compete for a roster spot. Not for a season, but for 2, possibly 3 seasons before an NFL team would even touch him. You agree with that?
Can we please stop saying that guy has talent? Please. He doesn't. I mean, just looking at his stats. Let's look at the complete opposite of Johnny Manziel real quick, and Tim Tebow, which no team wants for some reason, and just compare their stats. The QBR, or actually, the quarterback rating for Tim Tebow, who nobody wants, was a 75.3. Johnny Manziel is a 74.4. Tim Tebow is nothing bad off the field, but nobody wants him. So why would anyone want this troublemaker who had 7 touchdowns to 7 interceptions? Well, Tebow, who, yes, his completion percentage was bad, threw 17 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions. Tim Tebow was the better talent between these two and way better off the field. So the people that still think that I almost said the name.
You said his name earlier.
I'm just in a mood. I'm tired of people saying this stupid idiot has talent. He doesn't have talent, and he's never going to mature. The next team that signs him is just signing their death warrant. I don't get it why people still think, oh man, he's just wasted talent. No, he's not. He was never good to begin with. He was put on a good system in Texas A&M that let him run around like a goofball and complete passes to receivers that were really, really good. I mean, look at the talent that he had back there. He doesn't have it. He never will, even if he got his head on straight. I mean, look at pictures of it now. He's as skinny as me right now. Give me a break. I'm done with this buffoon.
You know, Randy, I mean, I could have saved you a lot of breath with this, and you've already said the magic words. But we all know...
I'm mad I said it.
No, but think about this. Okay, so all you need to know about his talent and who this guy is by saying the magic words. Texas A&M. Quarterbacks don't come out of that school, and if they do come out, they don't succeed in the NFL. We know that for a fact. Tannehill is one of them. So.
Okay. Well, let's see what Tannehill does this season.
And you will. And you'll be asking for Quincy Carter
so
to come
how
play.
much crow are you going to eat if Tannehill has a good year, Gary?
He won't. I won't. I would be willing to go to Vegas tomorrow and bet some money on it because Tannehill's Tannehill.
Wow.
I'm just telling you that they are not a school that produces quarter. Now, the NFL fools themselves and pretends that they get good quarterbacks out of there. They don't. They never do.
Fair enough. Well, that is going to conclude us talking about news for this show. After we had that heated thing, we need to get it far away from...
Robert's fault. He put talent in his comment. His comment was wonderful. He just put talent in it, and that was the bad part.
Hey, okay. If the M-word guy has talent, it's getting headlines. That's the talent he has.
Yeah, it's very true.
Or maybe snorting lines or something.
I mean, he did have a self-imposed of today. Today is supposed to be his day that he is going to be clean. We'll see how long before somebody reports that he was doing something he's not supposed to be doing, which probably won't take very long. But let's get into this defense draft here, guys. Obviously, same thing we've done with all the other teams, with all the other positions here that we've covered. Now we're just looking at the entire defense, Kind of like the way you would in fantasy, I guess, but now you're actually judging on, I guess it's sort of the same way. But, Gary, you're up first. Who has the best defense in the entire NFL to you?
Oh, man, this is a blast because this is very different than what we've done with the single-player situation. We did it a little bit more difficult with the wide receiver core. Ooh, this is tough. There's a few teams on here that I just want to point out and say, but I won't because then you guys will take teams that I want. So I am going to throw out a team that I still feel is very viable. They've lost pieces, but you know what? Every team on this list has lost pieces. I think they've gained pieces that will help them, and I'm not too worried about the fall off. I'm going to go ahead and pick the team that I think is going to do the best, and that's the Carolina. I still believe in that defense. I still do. I think they drafted a few helpful keys, and losing one of the better cornerbacks in this league, I don't think it's going to matter too much because the pass rush has not gone away.
Well, I'm going to use the same logic you have, Gary, and I mean, there's a reason why this team went all the way last year, and it was because of their defense, not because of the damn quarterback. Sure wouldn't. They might have lost some players as well, but they kept a lot of their core. The Denver Broncos, still number 2 for me.
I hate both of you.
Pick your home team. I know you talk to the people. I know what team you want.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. It's just, why didn't one of you guys take it? Whatever. I'll take the. How many times have I taken the Seattle Seahawks in these stupid drafts? I think I've taken the Seahawks more than I've taken the Jaguars, and that's really sad. All right, I gotta take Seattle. Listen, they still have one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, the secondary is awesome. They bring in a lot of pressure. I don't think they've really done a lot to fix some of the small holes, but they still don't have the holes that I figured by now they would have. I mean, looking through some of the stats, and they are the best team against the number 1 receiver, which, I mean, full credit to Richard Sherman. I mean, he talks the talk and he walks the walk. So, you guys are assholes. Taking Seattle.
It's tough. It's tough, but we had to do it. Now, I mean, still, I think there's some strong defenses still to pick from is what I love about this. Maybe you guys will disagree with this, but I full-heartedly think this defense is still as good as it was last year and possibly could be even better. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. I absolutely love their defense, and I think, some things happened last year that just kind of slowly kind of dissembled what they had, but that was really on offense. I think their defense is good.
Oh, Gary, freaking took the team I was going to go with. Oh, jeez. Man. This gets hard because sitting here looking at entire team defenses is not something you just always sit here and do. I'm gonna take a flyer on this. They were, at least their front 7 was insane last year, and they're only going to get better just this year. Not be a little on the young side or whatever, but I'm gonna go with the Oakland Raiders.
Wow. I think they're definitely a great potential team. I mean, they are young, like you said, and I mean, you never know. They may actually be one of the better ones this year.
I mean, you got Khalil Mack and Mario Edwards and Bruce Irvin all running at you. They signed Sean Smith. I mean, Reggie Nelson too. Oh, that defense is going to be nasty.
Oh man. Wow. We're getting to that point where, the Flyers kind of work, and this is a good point for us to kind of just point out some of these defenses. And one, just looking at some of the stats that really kind of jumped out to me, it was the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, talk about just an underrated defense to me. I mean, that's kind of how Kansas City has been for years, was that team that continues to put up good records. And at the end, you go, how are they there? And you start looking at it, and they really did have one of the best defenses in the league last year. They didn't really lose that many people. They filled in some gaps. They made the defensive line a little bit better. So, yeah, I mean, any team with like Justin Houston on it has to be great. Now you go out and get Chris Jones, who's going to work on the other side right there, and I got to take the Chiefs.
It's a good pick, and I really wanted to go with that direction myself. Looking at this list, kind of figuring out, who I think is going to be competitive compared to their new pieces, and trying to evaluate all this in one choice. I think I'm going to go with somebody that may not be a big surprise, but maybe to Randy it is. But I'm going with the Jets. I think their defense is still going to be good. I think they're going to be a surprise to people this year. I think the brothers working together could be magic.
Oh, Gary, hate you. You took my. I was gonna take the Jets. You know what? I watched this team a lot last year. Between doing rival games and then just having to do the stuff. I mean, and they brought back almost everybody, and I think they can get absolutely better this year. And for the most part, they're young too. I'm gonna go with the Vikings.
Ooh, I like it.
Let's see. I really thought the Jets were going to drop. That was very mean.
Sorry.
So, I kind of have to. You're just looking at it. Go for the defense that has the best player in the league on it, and that's the Houston Texans with J.J. Watt. Brian Cushing's just so great. Clowney is getting better. The secondary, I think, could use a little bit of work, but you get enough pressure on the quarterback, you can kind of hide any deficiencies in the secondary. So I got to take the Texans.
It took them right away from me. I thought the same thing. There was a lot of the thoughts that were going through my head as well about them as well. I am going to pick a team that I think, really took care of business when it came to helping their team along. Their offense started working well, but I think the defense has been strong for years. I think they'll continue to stay strong. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think that they're ready to fall off the map just yet.
Oof. It's hard. I don't know. I got a few teams in here looking at. If all these new pieces that they actually happen to get seem to work out, and they're supposed to be high-profile picks, they have enough good pieces that were already there. I'm probably going to end up regretting this one, but I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You have to remember who the new defensive coordinator is over there, or what a defensive assistant coach, or whatever Rex Ryan is calling his
Rex, brother. Can overrule him or whatever. So,
the team I'm going to take is one of those that it's kind of in the same vein as Buffalo. I mean, they've had a great defense for a while. I liked a lot of basically most of the pickups they got were backups, but for the age that this defense is getting up to, that's kind of what you have to do, is try to fill in pieces for the future, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. It's not a defense that you think is going to be great for much longer. Compared to the way they've been over the last decade or so, but I still think they have the talent there. So give me Baltimore.
You guys are picking a lot of good defenses here, and it's making my life a lot more difficult. And I'm looking at two teams that stay in the playoffs, because not only their offenses do some great things, but their defenses really do keep them in games. And the one defense that I think is going to surprise people and continue to help their team, I think Green Bay still has a reputable defense that, it'll bend, but it just doesn't break.
Jeez, Gary, you were like reading my mind today.
Reading your cards. Reading those cards.
I'm 2,000 miles away. You're reading my comments over here. Jeez. I don't know if it's another one I'm just taking the flyer on. They went full ham on the defense in the offseason. They've got guys coming back defensively that didn't get to play last year. If everyone, and that's a big if, obviously, if everyone kind of works out, the Jacksonville Jaguars, watch out.
Poor Randy, that's his team.
Jets get picked right after me. And I got stuck with Seattle for the 93rd time. Can I just refuse to pick anymore?
You can always
trade it. Assholes. Can we trade picks?
It seems like all the picks you want are going before or after, so you got to trade.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. All right, I still think. I mean, they had a rough year last year, and I think a lot of it is just because the offense put them in some tough situations. Their team, I think, we would have ranked a lot higher before. They get a ton of sacks, maybe not as much last year, but I still have faith in them. But the Los Angeles Rams were, I think, just get overshadowed when you're in a division with the Cardinals and the Seahawks, but they're always kind of that sneaky defense in fantasy. To me, I think they still have a lot of talent, so I have to take the Rams here, I guess, since you guys keep stealing my stuff.
I like that. I like that pick. I really do. The Rams have been sneaky, and what I mean by sneaky is they tend to, jump up on people when they least expect it. And I think they have some great talent on that team, so that's a good pick. I'm going with another team that, I'm kind of surprised they failed me a little bit. But consistent, good defense. A defense that, once again, it bends but doesn't always break, and just has talent. Just even if it's young talent, just has pure talent. That's the New England Patriots. Sure, they do depend on that offense quite a bit, but I still feel like that defense is definitely reputable.
Oh, for once, Gary doesn't pick my damn team that I was going for. Damn, now I gotta sit here and actually look at the team that
I'm wait, Gary didn't take him, so what's wrong with him?
Man, this is it's getting hard here. I think there's plenty of teams to go with. They just made a huge signing in the offseason right at that tail end. We were kind of done. I think we were done covering free agency, picking up the biggest cornerback in that free agency. I'm talking about the Washington Redskins here. Between Kedrick Golston, Chris Baker. If Gillette can be not suspended for once, and they got a heck of a secondary, which can maybe make up for some of the not being able to rush the passer so much, man.
Man, indeed.
Honestly, I'm looking at things, and right now the Cowboys have the worst defense in the entire NFC East.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Thanks to all these suspensions.
Gee, I want to name players. I got to scroll back up. Okay, give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They finished 11th in total yards last year. You get Vernon Hargreaves, the rookie, in the draft. I think that's going to help them a lot. They worked a lot in the offseason in the linebacking core, Brent Grimes and Darryl Smith. I think they've done enough with some of their additions to this team that they could end up being a top 10 defense next year. So give me the Buccaneers.
Took them right off my plate. You really did. So that takes me to another team that's young, a team that really dominated in the draft this year. And I think that, they've just got some talent that no one's expecting to do anything. And so I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I really feel like their defense isn't going to be as terrible as people expect.
Well, damn. Shoot. This is rough here. We're getting into that nitty gritty with these towns. You know what? I know that one of these teams has obviously got the free agent signings that everybody is going to covet and everything, but I still got some questions about the Giants defense. So I'm going to go with the other team in the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles defense was pretty good last year. Jordan Hicks came on the scene out of nowhere for people. Michael Kendricks. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is going to have to do with people being healthy the whole time, but Fletcher Cox has got that huge contract, and the secondary is not too bad either.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I'm just going to go where you almost did, and I'll take the Giants. Yes, some of the free agent moves I think people are going to overreact to. I'm still not the biggest fan of the Eli Apple pick that they made, but I mean,
you got
rookie,
JPP on PSAs for how to celebrate 4th of July. I'm not joking.
Yeah, I've seen the picture. But still, it's still a decent enough defense in the division where I don't think the defenses are that great. But it looked like they really tried to focus on that in the offseason, so I'll take the Giants.
I want to pick a scrappy team, a team that no one is really expecting to do as much as I think they can do. And that's going to be a team that I think at times kind of showed flashes. And so I'm going to go with Chicago. I think Chicago actually has some pieces in place. They may actually do some damage this year.
Well, speaking of doing damage, I think if they can get the secondary situation figured out, the front seven for the Pittsburgh Steelers is dynamite with Ryan Shazier, Bud Dupree, Cameron Hayward coming off a big year. I think they're bound to impress again.
Yeah, the Steelers are one of those teams, right? Like, I just wanted to pick a few times and just no. I get it. Again, I've said it before. You get enough pressure that you can cover the secondary. So, especially getting him at 23 is a great pick. And I'm going to go with another team that should get more pressure. At some point, they're going to figure this out. The Dolphins, on paper, have one of the better defenses out there. They just never seem to be able to get it all together on the field. But I'm going to give it to them here. I think the whole team as a whole will improve slightly. I'm kind of on Gary on being down a bit on Ryan Tannehill. I'm not as far down as he is on him. But I think the team as a whole has improved, and the defense part of that. So give me the Dolphins.
And this is really starting to get where the slope starts to slide down for me personally. But since that slope is sliding down, and I look at the teams, and this team actually was not terrible. It took a little while for them to start really falling off the map last year, and I think that if they can get things together and really produce what they feel like they can produce, I think the Atlanta Falcons defense will be pretty, maybe average, but I think, maybe better than some of the other average teams.
Yeah, speaking of sort of average, I think they added a lot by bringing in Brandon Mebane and Joey Bosa and Jason Verrett already being there to pair him alongside Casey Hayward. The San Diego Chargers, I think their defense improves quite a bit from last year.
Yeah, one that is not going to improve that much, if at all. It might even regress a little bit. I still feel like they're better than some of these other teams that you've gotten out there. I can probably flip-flop them with one other team that I'm sure Gary's going to take after this, but I'm going to take the Detroit Lions.
It's difficult because I see another team, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. I think that with the defensive coordinator that this team has and some of the talent they could maybe acquire to patch up some of these holes, I still think that they'll be out there and maybe do better than just, the worst teams in this league when it comes to defense. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys. Why not?
That was the other team.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to pick the Cowboys, Gary.
Well, I just look at it compared to these other teams. I think even with the holes, they're better than these other teams.
I think the best of the bunch that's left here is the Colts. You picked up, you're picking up some linebacker help in the offseason. You got some nice key pieces in other places like Avonte Davis and a Kendall Langford. They got to get it to work all together. I know.
I've been saving this team because I really think they're going to improve, but I didn't know how much. So I'm really glad that they dropped to my last pick here. A team that goes out with a lot of good draft picks with Sheldon Rankins and Von Bell. And they got rid of the biggest issue, and that was Rob Ryan. And that's the New Orleans Saints, whose defense got way better once he left. And I think they're going to show that. So give me the Saints.
Ooh, man.
Well, I know what team you're picking, Gary.
Yeah. I guess that means...
How the hell did I get left with Cleveland again?
No, I'm going San Francisco, baby. I don't know if they're going to do anything, but that's who I'm going with.
I got left with the damn Cleveland Browns again. All
right, whatever. Okay, hold on. I will give you the Rams and the Saints if you give me the Jaguars and the Browns. How about that?
Let's just keep it at notes.
Yeah.
All right, well, that does it for our draft series, guys. Thought we did a pretty good job.
Our draft series sure to go wrong when we look back at this at the end of the year.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, so already next on this coming here Tuesday, we'll be doing our first big conference, and then we'll be looking at the first division, AFC West, and that division is gonna be freaking tight, as we thought it would be last time, and it really wasn't until the end, when Denver started dropping a little bit. But we'll have to see what the prognosticators and everybody else thinks at this point. So, all right, guys. The off-season part of our podcast is now firmly in the books. We'll be talking about something that has to do with the upcoming season every podcast from now until then. So, excited already?
So excited. I'm so ready to go.
Same here. Definitely ready.
I might even go back and watch some old games from last season. I'm so excited.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, got one more month before we got to renew that Game Pass again. So, ready to cover the season again. So, yeah, you already know what's on tap for the next coming two shows. We're going to have Mr. Brandon Clapp breaking down the Big Ten, as he's going to do for all of our college conferences, because he keeps tabs on things more than we do. And we'll also try to get some interviews here. We're going to do the interview series again for the NFL. We're going to see how that goes, having hopefully all four NFL writers talking about their teams on the Thursday show and just getting their thoughts on that team, and then going down and looking at the division, how it's going to go. So, yeah, make sure to subscribe to that WTM network, where you get all of our awesome podcasts. Of course, we just did, Mark and I just did a Video Games to the Max show yesterday, talking about Nintendo doing VR, surprisingly or not surprisingly. Batman Arkham Collection getting delayed, and I got to play a lot of that Tokyo Mirage session, so I talked about that. And Randy, you also doing your backlog busting and some live streaming as well.
Yeah, we were live streaming at Backlog Busting, and also Randy_BBP over there at Twitch. Wes is streaming every single day. His stream streak is now at 104 days in a row that he has been streaming. I calm it down a little bit on Tuesdays through Saturdays, and I miss a day here or two, but I'm trying to be more precise. We're also on YouTube, the Backlog Busting Project. We just recorded some stuff for a new Wednesday series on there, as well as the Until Dawn series that the new episode just came out today.
And Gary, we just finished the big flagship show this earlier.
Yeah, Wrestling to the Max definitely had a lot of great stuff this week. We talked about some WWE talent and, of course, the new talent that can be shown with the front door. Plus, we got into some G1 Climax talk. That's right, New Japan, and, of course, covered Lucha Underground, NXT, and, of course, TNA Impact Wrestling. So a big full show full of great wrestling.
Yeah, plenty to talk about. And we got a new show called Uncapped from Last Word on Sports provider Mr. Quentin Mayo, talking things in sports. I got that SCU and Saki going on. They talked about a lot of different things as well on their show. Plenty to talk about or to just to listen to on this WC network that keeps growing. We got more shows coming down the pipeline as well. So hopefully we can keep growing this thing. And there we go. But until then, until we see you again on Tuesday, hopefully everybody has a good week. Enjoy your festivities on the 4th of July and stay safe. Later, everybody.